is a huge honor today to be podcast interviewing Dr. Dana Rockey all the way from Newport Beach, California. Thanks for coming on my show today. It's a huge honor. As most dentists and healthcare professionals who have run large, successful practices for 30 years are thinking about retirement, Dr. Dana Rockey is just getting started. Dr. Rockey has treated Hollywood elites, CEOs of large corporations, and families who have come to appreciate his platinum level of service. With the sale of his last large practice, Dr. Rockey opened a new generation dental practice in Newport Beach, California. The U.S. healthcare system has gained a reputation for generally responding to sickness and disease. Some refer to it as a sick care system. Oftentimes, doctors treat patients in silos, don't connect the dots with what's happening in one area of the body with a person's symptoms and organs, and generally simply react to sickness and disease versus focusing on keeping patients healthy. Dr. Rockey combines a wellness approach to healthcare and oral systemic discipline and emphasis on fitness and nutrition to keep patients and clients healthy and out of hospitals and doctors' offices. Dr. Rockey, as other progressive healthcare professionals, are leading the wellness movement in healthcare and dentistry to make a meaningful difference in people's lives. What brought about this change? After many years of living the dream, owning large, successful practices, about 5 years ago, Dr. Rockey found himself at a point of quiet desperation. Although he had all the money that could buy, he was stressed out, taking medications for high blood pressure and cholesterol, and just plain burned out. Over the next 12 months that followed, Dr. Rockey went through a personal transformation towards health and fitness. Today, Dr. Rockey has more energy than he had 30 years ago. His focus on wellness and helping people live healthier, happier lives has given Dr. Rockey more meaning and purpose in his own personal life. Because oral bacteria and subsequent inflammation have been linked to many other conditions such as cancer, diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, Alzheimer's disease, and preterm labor, Rockey offers oral and systemic diagnostic services that allow patients to practically screen and monitor their health in progressive ways that dentists have not offered their patients until now. After 30 years, Dr. Rockey and his wife Peggy Ann Rockey, RN, registered nurse, have blended their careers, which they are really excited about. Together, they offer services that help their patients and clients to maintain or achieve health and wellness. Dr. Rockey approaches dentistry and the care of his patients from a whole body system. So, hey, you and I have been both doing this for 30 years. When did we first, you and I, hear oral systemic disease? When did that really come out?
For me, it was about 4 years ago. AAOSH, American Academy of Oral and Systemic Health, has been around about 5 to 6 years. So I heard about them fairly early. I'm not a charter member. But they're really the group that of physicians, dentists, nurses, hygiene, all that got together and really decided, hey, we need to look at the bigger picture. There's something more going on here. What happens in the mouth just doesn't stay there. And so that organization was formed, and I just caught it, and I thought, you know what, that really resonated with me. And so I just began to do research. I just began to think about it. I just began to follow the leaders in that organization, Dan Sindelar, DeWitt Wilkerson, Lisa Marie Samaha, which I know you interviewed, Doug Thompson, Susan Maples up in Michigan. Those are the kind of leaders of that group. Those were the people that really first thought about that. And what they said really resonated with me, that what happens here just doesn't stay there. And what's happening down below here affects up here. And so that came along with my own personal transformation, and I realized, you know what, we need to be looking at the bigger picture. And so that's when I really started to do that.
And physicians are going through the same thing. All my physician friends have said that, you know, dentistry has 9 specialties. They have 58 specialties, and they're just overwhelmed with what they've been missing for years by not connecting the dots with their little silo and all the other body parts. And they're trying to do the same thing, get this all tied together.
There's 2 great people involved in NAOSH, Brad Bale and Amy Doneen. And they really talk about the cardiovascular effects that are happening with periodontal bacteria. The inflammation is a really big word in that, and that's when I was learning about nutritional effects of inflammation also. That's when I sort of began to connect all of the dots. It really is all connected, and given the healthcare system today, without getting too political this morning, to me, in my mind, the healthcare system is really deteriorating, getting to the point where 6 minutes a visit just isn't enough for someone to really connect the dots. Interesting that you would mention that some of your physicians are actually starting to put it together, and that's fabulous. But generally speaking, I hear that the first thing is looking for a diagnosis, prescribing a pharmaceutical, and then out the door. And I personally would rather get to the core of that, whether it be dentally or medically. I know I have a dental license, but get to the core of that and really try and understand, help patients with nutrition, help patients get out and exercise, help patients think about really why they need to stop bleeding in their mouth and all that. So I've had now more purpose and passion in this last practice here over this last year than I've had in 33 years. I'm having more fun now than ever.
Well, it's when I went to Arizona State University and got my MBA, it was nights ago. It was Mondays and Wednesdays from 6 to 10, year round for 2 years. And there were people in there from hospitals getting their MBA. And they were telling the class, I mean, it was insane. Like Medicaid and Medicare will give them $100,000 for a bypass or 50 to 75,000 for a hip or a knee. But then they only give them like $28 for an exam or a visit or a wellness visit. And they're like, if we don't fillet open 3 or 4 people a day for a major surgery, we can't cover all this stuff we do at a loss. So the reimbursements are just set up to where you got to drill, fill, and bill. I mean, you'll make $1,000 to do a root canal, but you won't make $1 telling someone how to never get a root canal.
I understand that. Ultimately, I have to pay the bills. Ultimately, I have to pay the staff. And yes, having been in this 33 years and have a little bit of money in the bank, I have the option of being a little more flexible. But I have found that patients are more engaged. Patients are more into what I'm trying to tell them. I build more relationships when I really get in and show them that I care about them on a much bigger picture than just drilling on their amalgam, getting rid of their amalgam. As I say, I'm an old timer. I still believe that this is the very best profession going. I am so excited about dentistry. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. But it is first and foremost a people business. It is not a procedure business. When you build those relationships, I have found, especially in the last year, and I show people that I really care about them as a person. To me, the work just comes in. Then you build patients. And new patients come in the door, and that's what it's about. Then I can do the procedures. But that foundation of establishing relationships with a patient that I've learned and experienced over this last year has just been amazing.
So it sounds like you've switched your business from a volume, big volume, to value. Instead of trying to see 100 patients do one thing, you're trying to see 10.
Yes, this is my 4th dental practice. I have purchased 5, sold 3, and started 1 from scratch. And 2 of them were very large. I know I break the mold. I'm not the traditional dentist in that sense. And 2 of them have been very large, 7 figures. And as I say, now I'm actually sitting with a patient, actually talking with them, actually talking more, building the relationships. I've been doing laser work for 15 years and CERAC work for over 10 years and all that. So the work is here. It is certainly here to do. And part of that is I bought a great practice with a real good core foundation. The guy was here, elderly gentleman was here 42 years. So I've got a really nice patient base here. But just spending the time to build a relationship, I find incredibly valuable. I know, I just watched one of your interviews with a gentleman, young man, that graduated, I think, down in Florida, and he started to work down there, and he chose the private practice route instead of the corporate route. I understand that a lot of guys or young dentists feel they have to get out and get into the corporate model, maybe to pay off loans and whatnot. But private practice to me offers so much more value, so much more enrichment, gives me the opportunity to do what I want to do, spend the time and do that. I don't know. I just, for me, this is it. After 33 years, I just feel, I'm in the right place at the right time.
So this all started with the AAOSH, the American Academy of Oral Systemic Health. This is where the journey started when you joined them?
Exactly. Somehow, when I can't remember exactly how I found them, whether it was in a magazine or online or something, and I began to open that up. I began to think about that and start to read. Of course, Dan Sindler, who was one of the founders, went to WashU there in St. Louis, where I did. So that kind of piqued my interest. And I started to investigate. So I went to the conference. I went to their number 3 conference, and I came away blown away by what they were talking about. Here, under one roof, were physicians, dentists, hygienists, nurses, chiropractors, professionals that are really getting together and talking about the wellness of a patient based on the oral systemic connection. You know, you really do need to be telling people that bleeding is a sign of bacteria. Bleeding bacteria goes everywhere in the body. The inflammatory component from that bacteria can cause major problems cardiovascularly. And it just resonated with me and that was just about coinciding with a time that I got healthy myself, lost 50, 60 pounds, threw away a lot of pharmaceutical medicines, and really turned it around physically myself. And it just resonated. I just put the two together. I got more excited every conference, and that just built out from there. I knew at some point, maybe 3 years ago, this is what I was going to dedicate the rest of my professional practice to.
Okay, now tell this fat boy how you lost 60 pounds.
Well, I'm married to a wonderful woman who is responsible for me turning it all around. And she was a nurse for many years, retired now, but helps me. And she was been telling me lovingly and supportingly that you are what you eat and what you think. And so most of that is what you eat. And so I completely changed the way I think about food, eliminate things like sugar, gluten, and dairy, and add back in plants. I'm a firm believer that you should be eating a primarily plant-based diet, and I do that. Also, I gave up political TV. I was a political junkie, and I stopped cussing at people that cut me off, and just basically treat life now on a day-to-day basis. And when I speak in front of people, whether it be 2 or 200 or 2,000, and inspirationally or motivationally, what I tell them is every day is a gift, and life is very short and unpredictable. And if you are not treating every day that it's a blessing and a gift, then and with passion and with purpose, in my opinion, you should be doing something else or in another job. And so I came to that conclusion about 3 years ago, and it really changed my life. So what you eat and what you think is what you
know, and what you think is everything. You know, when I look at we just went through a huge election like this country does every 4 years. It's always 3 times bigger than the Super Bowl.
Yes.
And I grew up in a house where my 2 oldest sisters were Catholic nuns, and my little brother was more gay than Liberace and Elton John. and I watched that just tear the entire family apart. And then you listen to all these people with politics and everything, and I say, okay, who cares what's going on in Russia and North Korea and Washington, D.C.? Everybody I know that's successful doesn't get involved with things they can't change and make you feel bad and make you agitated and make you uncomfortable. And during that whole election cycle, I didn't even focus on it, and I just kept playing my own game, doing my podcast, working in the dental office, playing with my boys, grandkids. And after living through I've voted 9 times since 1980, and I can't think of one single president that won that did anything that had any influence on my life. I mean, I've been making my own luck by just plowing my own garden, and I don't really give a shit what's going on in North Korea, Washington, D.C. It's just all noise. And then when people like when I go home, when people start talking about religion or politics, they get mad and they get louder and they get agitated, and it's like, God, I'd rather just talk to my homies about root canals and crowns and pull wisdom teeth, because that's fun stuff. And talking about Catholicism's view on homosexuality, I don't even care.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head that you really can't change that. Yeah, I know you can vote one way or another, but on a daily basis, you're really not changing that. And I came to the conclusion that I have to make the best out of every day, that what I can do is only how I affect the people around me. And that usually means trying to make the best relationships that I can, help people out, support people. Giving is a big thing for me. Taking is not. Giving back is. So when I began to focus on that, my life just completely changed. Stress went away. I realized that every day is a gift, every day is a blessing, and I'm going to value it as such. I'm going to move forward as such with passion and purpose, and that really changed my life.
Yeah, and you know what? I was having dinner the other day with a senior in dental school, and I said, "Well, what are your goals when he comes out? When you get out?" And he goes, "I want to own 4 offices." And I just thought, wow, where does that even come from? I mean,
Exactly.
why would you have one office 4 times bigger versus 4 offices 1/4 this? I mean, where did the number 4 come from? I mean, it's like, man, you are so lost. I didn't even know what to say. You know what I mean? But talk about how going from volume was high stress for you, and going to value was better fit for you.
Well, the last practice that I was in, as I said, was a significant seven-figure practice, and I had 6 chairs there, two hygienists every day. One day there was 3 hygiene, and there were 3 chairs there, and I had 3 RDA EFs. And I basically just gave a shot in the drill and ran literally from chair to chair. And I suppose in many respects, maybe the gentleman you were just talking about, that would be the envy, that would be the ideal for them. The issue, though, for me is, yes, you're satisfied. You get that helper's high of sending a lot of really neat work out the door, and patients are, complimenting you and all that. But ultimately, it just wasn't fulfilling at that speed. And so then when I changed my life around and realized that it really, instead of just getting to work, went from 8 to 5, but that usually meant getting there at 6:45 and staying till 6, thinking about it. I didn't even realize what happened to the day. I mean, I went back and looked at my watch and said, really, the day's over. And when I then made the decision that I really had to start enjoying every day, I really want to get something out of that relationship. I just knew I had to cut the cord. And so there again, I put the practice up for sale. And of course, that was to the astonishment of the entire world around me. Well, I've done that twice, but so I don't care. Ross Nash taught me that you can start from scratch and just move out on your own direction. So I have no fear in doing that. And I came here, and the practice was a much slower pace. I work 90% of the time out of one chair. Of course, the CEREC machine helps me do that, and I don't have much laboratory and all, and laser work, and I make a real good income doing that. It's just the fulfillment. I spend my time with each patient. I spend quality time with them. I get into it relationship-wise. I get into it with their family. We talk about life. We talk about this. It just is completely changed. I just knew I had to do something. Yes, I had, I guess what you could say was every dentist's dream, but in the reality of what is not fulfilling. For me, it did not feel that need that I had discovered, that every day is a blessing, and that I darn well better be starting to live my life accordingly. So put my practice up for sale again, and came over here, have a completely different mindset. And as I say, I've never been happier. I never plan on retiring. I didn't say I was going to work 4 or 5 days a week when I'm 80 years old, but I'm in the right place at the right time, doing exactly what I want to do, and I couldn't be happier.
The dentist that I grew up next door to, Kenny Anderson, he just celebrated his 50th year in his dental office, and he still does Monday through Thursday mornings. He does 6 to noon Monday through Thursday, and just loves it. And he just loves it.
I cannot imagine doing anything else. And now what I've been doing for the last year, is so fulfilling, and we're changing lives, not just in the mouth, but everywhere, and causing people to look forward a little bit. And that's exactly what I want to do.
So describe your office then. How big is it? How many chairs? Do you have a hygienist? Talk about going from volume to value.
I have 3 part-time hygienists, only 1 hygienist a day. I've got 3 chairs, and I work 2 operatories for me and 1 hygiene, so I only have 3 chairs. We have about 1,050 square feet, so it's pretty small. And I work principally out of 1 chair. That's where I do most of my operative and laser work, and then I have the other chair operative set up for the CEREC unit, so I'll work over there when I need to do CEREC cases. Reception, I got a personal office, which I primarily use for consultation. I have a large 50-inch TV in there, so I can actually show them x-rays, of course, and periodontal charts and things like that. To me, patient education is really so important, whether it be nutrition or whether it be dental or whatnot. And insofar as getting people to understand and actually commit to doing work, education is everything. So it's just been a big thing for me. So 1,050 square feet, 3 operatories. We're getting darn close to 7 figures again, working principally out of 1 chair.
7 figures? You mean 1 million or 10 million?
1 million.
What 1 million? Okay, so 6 zeros, 7 figures. Okay, yeah, doing $1 million. Yeah, unbelievable. You keep saying laser work, and you say CEREC CAD cam or CAD cam?
CAD cam. I bought my first CEREC unit about almost 10 years ago, and we're on the OmniCam, of course, and so I was an early adopter of CEREC work. To me, that just makes sense. I see, unfortunately, a lot of CEREC work not done correctly, in my opinion, or poorly. But nonetheless, if it's used right and used within the right confines, I think it works really great. Lasers, to me, I was an early adopter of lasers, both hard tissue and soft tissue lasers. I bought my first laser in '01 because it resonated with me. I got it, that something needed to be done down in the periodontal pocket. And once I learned that lasers really sterilize the pocket and really clean out all the bacteria, and now at this point in our AOSH group, we talk about it as biofilms. Now I know what lasers, 15 years ago, I didn't know it. But now I know that really what they're doing is killing the biofilm in the bottom of the pocket there, and they're actually cleaning and curating, cleaning out the wall of the pocket on that side. Now I know why it's been working so effectively for so long.
And you do see it working effectively so long in your hands in your office?
Oh, absolutely. You use the erbium YAG hard tissue laser for crown lengthening.
What brand are you using?
A Photona.
Photono?
Photona, F-O-T-O-N-A, sold by
F-O-T-O. Oh, is it Fontana or Fontano? Or Photano?
Photona.
What?
Photona.
Photona. Huh.
Photona.
Yeah, I've heard the brand. I've just heard it pronounced several different ways. So that's a hard tissue and soft tissue?
Yeah, there's two different lasers in it. I know other companies make lasers that have dual wavelength lasers with one delivery system, but the Photona unit actually has dual wavelengths, and it has a mirrored system to use the hard tissue setup, and then for the ND YAG, Nimnium YAG, they use a glass fiber for that. So that's what you use for soft tissue. So, I can cut off fibromas, I can cauterize aphthous ulcers. I mean, I'm telling you, you make no bigger friend when you take someone that's got a huge aphthous ulcer inside there, and without anesthesia, you treat that with a soft tissue laser, and they walk out pain-free, and the thing heals 2 days later. So, I mean, it's pretty interesting. I just have found lasers to be incredibly effective. I know people buy them. You see used lasers on dental advertising sites all the time because they use them, and they don't understand them, and they don't really put them into practice. But to me, dental lasers are everything.
That's one of the most overlooked, under talked about things on Dental Town. We've had free classified ads like Craigslist since 1998. On any given day, there's like 6,000 free ads for used lasers, CERECs, dental offices, associates wanted, looking for a job, looking for associate. I think over 1,000 unique dentist visits per day are in those classified ads. So if you're listening out there, and a lot of that's my fault because I didn't put it on the app. So the Dental Town app, the next update will have the classified ads on there. Are you using the hard tissue? You said crown lengthening, or are you doing any restorative dentistry with the hard tissue?
Yeah, you know what? It's great for a little one. They don't want to hear the drill screaming and a shot and all that. So if you do it right, there's a certain technique to do that. If you turn the power down, you can actually go and go through the enamel of the tooth, and you can actually get into the inside. Once you get through the DEJ and that laser energy gets to that point, it'll sort of anesthetize as it go, and then you can systematically ratchet up the power of it. There's multiple settings. Length, duration of the pulse, and the number of pulses, and the power per pulse. You can change all that, and you can get it so you can actually do fillings into dentin on kids without a drill. And boy, I tell you, you've made another great friend there if you can get away from the shot and do fillings on young people without anesthesia. How about that?
And these kids, they talk about how am I going to pay back my student loans? Pediatric, the average general dentist makes about $174,000, but the average pediatric dentist is over $300,000. And the Millennials had an echo boom in 2007. They dropped like 4.7 million children who are now all in dental offices. And my God, every pediatric dentist I know that went to a hard tissue laser said, I used to have to give a shot, then wait 5, 6 minutes or 8 minutes for it to soak in. Now I don't give this shot. And by the time that 5 to 6, 8 minutes would have passed, I'm done prepping and I'm filling. And then the mother goes and tells everyone that my dentist did this without a shot.
Yes. I don't. In the practice that I'm in right now is basically 40 to 85. Where I came from, the much larger practice I had was sort of 10 to 55. So I'm using it much less for that now. I use it more for periodontal procedures. But yes, you have made no bigger friend in your dental practice than if you do dentistry on a child without anesthesia and they skip out, tell their mom, and then that mom tells everyone else. Yes, agreed, 100%.
And everybody talks about that. Patients love same-day dentistry, CEREC, not taking an impression and temporized and all that stuff. And I admit consumers like that, but the market for fear is 10 times bigger than the market for a same-day crown. I mean, when you tell anybody they need a root canal, they only think two things. Oh my God, how much is it? And is it going to hurt? And when you offer installment credit financing, like GMAC financing doesn't ask $30,000 for a car, it asks for $500 a month for 60 months. And then in dentistry, when you address fear, whether that be laughing gas, hard tissue lasers, I'm not going to give you a shot. I mean, when dentists start getting hard tissue lasers and laughing gas and nitrous oxide and start advertising no shot dentistry, painless dentistry, if you're afraid, come to me. I mean, their offices explode.
Yes. I learned pretty early on. You talk about a shot. Ultimately, we have to give shots sooner or later. And I bought out my first practice in 1988 from someone I refer to as Dr. Burbank. He was just an incredible dentist in Burbank, California, up there near Los Angeles. And he was the one that impressed upon me that a very comfortable and very effective local anesthesia is the cornerstone, is the kickoff, the cornerstone of a great dental appointment. So he taught me some techniques that I use, 30 gauge needles and pre-numbing before you give the block and doing things like this. And so that has sort of followed me throughout my career, as giving a very comfortable injection. I gave an injection to someone yesterday, as a matter of fact, on number 18 to do a crown prep on him, where he'd had number 31 removed by a fairly young oral surgeon. That the actual procedure removing the tooth hurt a lot because the block wasn't effective. So he comes yesterday, we gave him an effective block, and he says to me, the first thing he says to me was, wow, this is how it should have felt? And I said, well, yeah. And he said, I didn't feel anything. So I just learned early on, fortunately, and it's been a big part of my career, is that a comfortable, very effective local anesthetic injection is the cornerstone of that appointment. That's when the anxiety, that's when the apprehension begins to fall, and you can get through the procedure once that patient realizes they're going to get through that procedure without feeling anything.
Oh yeah, man, that is the best advice. I mean, if you want to nail one thing, nail the shot. I mean,
Yes.
just be able to give an amazing pain-free shot. And one of the things I always think of the most, you see people pushing on the syringe. If your thumb feels it, they feel it. You got to give that block to where you're teasing it in there, but you're never feeling it on the tongue. And every time you're feeling on your thumb, they're feeling the pressure at the other end of that needle. And my God, did you ever buy any of the pain-free injection stuff like the wand or anything like that?
I never did. And, for my uppers, I use Septicaine. So we get pretty good perfusion, of course, to the inside, a little bit. But, that dreaded palatal injection, say you're going to do a subgingival prep on an upper molar there, I'll just apologize. I have the pencil, what I call the pencil or a ligament jet next to me. It's got a 30 gauge extra short, which doesn't bend. And I put xylocaine in it, which the pKa it's not too acidic. So, and I'll just apologize and say, you know what, forgive me in advance. This might pinch a little bit. And we get through that and I go very slowly and that's it. So if that's all they feel and you're apologetic for that, I find the patients really didn't mind that. I've had the wand used on me, and I still felt a little something here and there. But really, the reality of it is, especially the block. The block has to be comfortable and it has to be effective. I still run into patients that tell me the previous dentist just could not get the block right. And yeah, I know it's difficult and technique sensitive, but somehow it would be my advice to young dentists in particular. Learn how to do that right. Go see Stan Melamed or whoever, and learn to get that right and make sure that block is working effective. Because if not, and the patient's feeling stuff, boy, that is just a real big marketing no-no.
And one of the things I think it's a issue. You say you work out of one chair, but you have two, and I think so many dentists are forcing the procedure when it's uncomfortable because their next patient is in 10 minutes. They don't have a chair they can put the next patient in. So, if the average dentist has 65% overhead, the doc gets 35%, the staff's averaging 28%, labs are 10, supplies are 6, equipment's operatories barely even show up on your overhead, and they're always rushing and making horrible decisions because they don't have a chair. And then when I look at the offices that are the most profitable, everything's going right, they always have guaranteed one room never scheduled, an emergency room never scheduled. But a lot of times they'll have two, because then they can say, you know what, I'm going to give you another block and I'm just going to let this soak in for half an hour, and I'm going to go do a filling over here while that, you know what I mean? But if you don't have that chair and you got that schedule and you're stressed and you're like, well, just hang on. Well, just hang on. I only got 5 more minutes, and then it's all negative.
I do not. I mean, there again, I can only speak for myself and my own position and where I am at 33 years in practice and where I am now. But I do not drill on a tooth that isn't numb. Period. End of story. If they are feeling that to any degree, I believe that negatively affects the feeling of the appointment. And I think it was you that told me that if somebody has a bad experience, they're going to tell 10 people. If someone has a great experience, they're going to tell one. So, period, end of story. I do not drill on a tooth that isn't numb. And we make sure of that. And as you say, time is often a quotient of that. And so whatever it takes to do that. And lots of times on the lower, I can have a great block injection numbing, doing fabulous. Their lips on the floor, as Bill Cosby says. And I touch that DEJ on the buckle, and there's still a little bit of this or that. I know that the long buckle is working on that, so I give them a little long buckle on that side. I always do that at the beginning. So you got lingual, mandibular, and long buckle working. I don't know. To me, best advice would be a comfortable, effective injection, and that's supplanted by saying, make sure your mandibular blocks, you know how to do that. I still run into patients that say that previous dentists could not get them numb on the bottom. Common problem.
And this last election should beat into every young millennial listening right now, is that negative news does travel 100 times faster than good news.
Yes,
Every
sir.
politician knows that. If I say I did something great, no one will post it on Facebook. But if I say my opponent did something bad, everyone will post it and repost it. So you make 10 people happy, they're not going to be your champions. But you hurt someone, or you piss them off, or you make them leave and they feel bad, they're going to tell everyone. And with Facebook and social media, my God, I mean, when we were little, maybe she could tell 6. On Facebook now, she could, without blinking, tell 300.
Well, you've used the word millennial now several times, and in our nutrition work and our wellness coaching business, we work now a lot with millennials to try and join us in the business. But you're right, millennials communicate electronically, and with YouTube and with Yelp and whatever else, and you say Facebook and whatnot, word travels, Instagram, word travels very quickly, and negative Yelp reviews and all of that, anything. You don't want any of that. I realize that some things are unavoidable and stuff happens, but I think about it. That's just why I do what I do. I mean, I try my darndest to make sure every appointment goes as well as it possibly can, and they skip out of here with a great experience, because negative reviews and negative experiences just do not seem to work out well.
I think Facebook is going to redo the review process, because, I mean, think about your own Thanksgiving dinner with your family. I mean, how many crazy aunts and uncles do you have every year? And so with Facebook, where they're doing that video, it's the head with 2 halos over it.
Yeah.
So you could on your Facebook page, when you have someone really excited and happy, and you hit that video, and she gives you a video review and says, "Oh my God, I just went to Dr. Dana Rockey in Newport Beach, and he's so amazing, and he did this filling without a shot, and he used a laser. Oh my God!" But when you can see that human talking, because when you can see some of your uncles or aunts saying something by just looking at them, you say, "Okay, that person's batshit crazy," But when they put that in text on Yelp or Google review, you don't get to see that the person is a nut job.
Yes.
But I think the video reviews are going to be amazing, because if the person looks like they're well put together, and they're, you can see the emotion if they're verklempt. And I think dentists need to start having their smartphone laying on their counter, and when someone, when you hand someone a mirror at the end of the procedure and they look at it and they're just like, oh my God, I love it. And you say, God, can you just say something to Facebook just for 30 seconds? And you catch them in the moment. It's all natural and it's, oh my God. So I think I think these text and line reviews on Yelp and Google are going to be replaced with video.
That just made me think of something. I don't remember exactly when you graduated from Creighton, what year, but remember when we started, and when we started, we got out and there were other senior dentists that we were kind of rubbing elbows with. Wouldn't they have had a heart attack if we asked people for reviews, or can you write me this or that? Isn't it interesting that in 30 something years dentistry has changed so much in terms of marketing and all of that? I remember the day that the old timers would never consider advertising and doing anything like that, and then here we are openly talking about asking patients for quality reviews, to be honest about having the appointment that they had. It's pretty interesting.
Well, that's a secret weapon that I tell millennials. A lot of times they'll just look at demographics. They'll say, well, this area is one dentist for every 2,000. This is one for every 2,400. That's all great, but the other thing you have to look at is who are those dentists. And if you can find the good old boy network, where everyone's 8 to 5, no one's advertising, they're in medical dental buildings, my God, you can slaughter those people. But if the people that you're going against are on, retail locations, they're big on social media, they do direct mail, they do all these things, that's an entirely different beast. But that's what we always joke. We say, go look for a neighborhood where all the dentists are good old-fashioned good old boys, because they won't even see you coming.
Howard, you haven't changed. I think I told you this at the beginning before we started, that you are one of the 5 people that I really consider. I'm telling you that now, this for certain, because you haven't heard this before. You are one of the 5 people that I consider most influential to me in my career. And I first heard you way back. I think you got associated with Dr. Ibsen, and I want to thank you for remembering Dr. Ibsen this last year. I discovered Dr. Ibsen by going to one of his seminars in '86 or '87 at the Sheraton Universal in Los Angeles, and that's when it just clicked for me, the white dentistry, the bonded dentistry, and it clicked. And then I think it was in a Las Vegas seminar I first saw you in that black suit, and you were going up and down the aisle and whatnot, and you, Linda Miles, Ross Nash, Harvey Potter, and it's that core of people that really remained the most influential for me throughout my career. And so I really want to thank you for that. I'm really happy to be able to give you the opportunity, having the opportunity to thank you. And
who was the 5th one you said? Bob Ibsen, me, Linda Miles, Ross Nash. Who was the 5th?
Harvey Potter.
Oh, Dr. Harvey Potter.
Yeah,
oh
remember?
My God, I love that guy with the Cerac saw.
Cerisar, yes.
Cerisar.
I think he ended. I'm not sure whether he's still alive. I don't know, but Bob Ibsen was really proud of saying that Harvey Potter bought half of New York when they were in bankruptcy, and most of it leveraged, and so he owned half of New York. So that old guy not only was good in what he did in dentistry, but ended up making a fortune in New York real estate. But in any case, you are the core people that really helped me in the foundation of building my career and my thoughts regarding dentistry and what I did from the last really 25 years. So thank you very much.
Well, the only thing I have in common with Bob Ibsen and Ross Nash is we're all bald dentists. So you must have a weak spot for bald dentist. Yeah, I love Ross Nash. His secret weapon is your secret weapon. His is his wife, Deborah Englehart. And it sounds like your secret weapon is your wife, too, that you're a Peggy and Rocky registered nurse, that you guys are the the whole's greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah, she is my sort of wellness coordinator, and she does my medical history reviews and helps me, what is this, what is that, why are they taking this, what do you think about this and that. So her name's on the door, and we do wellness coaching and nutritional coaching, and hold meetings and seminars at night in the office. And she and I put together a really great program. I'm partnering with a boutique workout salon here in Newport Beach, and we're going to be doing the nutritional counseling there. And of course, you probably saw on our website, we're plant-based nutrition is important to us, so we really love the Juice Plus product line. So we give seminars there and talks, and really that's our life. I mean, we have big kids and grandkids, and then another set of kids that live in Las Vegas that are almost 21 years old. And so it's just my wife and I and a Cavalier Spaniel, and all we do is teach health, wellness, live every day for the fullest, and enjoy our lives. So that's where I am here. 33 years of dentistry is what it's brought me. The best times of my dental career.
And do these seminars that you put on, they're in your office?
Mm-hmm.
And are these a great source of new patients?
We principally use them to introduce people, well, two ways. Introduce people to, our nutritional products, or how nutrition affects inflammation, which affects your body, or we get patients from the office here that are interested in learning more about the oral systemic, learning more about, teaching people why periodontal bacteria is so bad, why it goes to cardiac vessels and causes inflammation that we in the oral systemic community think possibly might lead to half of all heart attacks. So, it goes bi-directionally, introducing people coming in from the nutrition side, or patients coming in from the wellness side, both ways.
And how do you market these courses?
Internally, here in the office.
Internal marketing.
And
Go ahead.
And on the website.
I want to go back to the laser and gum disease, because I would say that of all the, when you and I got out of school, of the 9 professions that we had, periodontal specialists changed more than all the others combined. I mean, remember when we got out of school, it was 4 quads of root plane curettage, and we do these surgeries and bone lengthening and smoothing. And so talk about how you saw periodontal specialty when, 30 years ago when we got out, versus now, and now you're using a laser.
Well, I think lasers were just really a way for me to actually do periodontal treatment without having to touch a knife. You see, somehow early on I got the idea that I was pretty good with a drill, and started to make my living with a drill. I did, for about 6 months after I got out, I did about, I think, maybe 3 root canals, and I knew right off the bat that wasn't for me. So endodontics was out. Forgive me for saying this with all due respect. Where I came from at WashU, the oral surgery department there really wasn't very much for undergraduate. So I really don't even begin to know how to remove a tooth. So I was never going to be a surgeon. Our periodontal surgery treatment back there at WashU was pretty insignificant. We had to do things, but someone helped us a lot. So, I just didn't really feel comfortable with blades and all that. So I gravitated to a drill, and right after Dr. Ibsen taught me how to do it, I was immediately doing 6, 8, 10, 12 veneers. I have a knack for that. So when I started to see periodontal issues, and I saw redness and bleeding and pocketing and all of that, and I did my root planing and curettage. We did that, and I still had residual stuff. I thought somehow lasers seemed to think, they were touted as being laser treatment. So me being sort of always looking for the next answer, I actually purchased my first laser. It was $4,000. I could never forget. It's $4,000. It was a diode laser, which they make relatively inexpensively now. And I was turning that loose on everything, even moles on my skin here, right? And I was finding some dramatic improvements. We would do 9 or 10 millimeter pocket. We would root plane to 6. And then I would get in there and really get aggressive with a diode laser, heat and all. And these people would turn around to 3s and 4s, and we would be able to maintain those. So I found pretty early on with a laser, even as crude as a diode laser is, and me not really knowing what was going on, that we were getting some pretty amazing results for that. So I've always used that. Then along came, I saw an ad for a used ND YAG, which is up until carbon dioxide lasers, what I consider the Cadillac of soft tissue lasers. And I bought myself a used ND YAG laser, which used to cost $30. I bought it for $5,000, and I started turning that loose on patients. And then I taught hygienists. I certified hygienists to be able to use that and laser-assisted curettage, and we were getting amazing results. And I remember coming to this Orange County where I did in 2003, and a periodontist actually called me out on that and said, you know what, the results are unproven in lasers, and they really don't have the long-term studies to show that what you're doing there works any better than knife and suture surgery. And I said, okay, I'll that's fine. And so I just continued to do my work, and then not long after that, I actually bought the 2 laser handpiece, or 2 laser unit, And then that's when I started using erbium YAG, and I'll turn erbium YAG loose on the bottom of the pocket where the bone, where the attachment is, and it just seems as though that stimulates bone growth in there. It completely sterilizes the top of the bone. And then you use the soft tissue laser, the LNAP technique and all that, and I just have been getting amazing results from that. So very few of my patients really need to go over to traditional knife and suture surgery, because I've been pretty darn effective with hard and soft tissue laser work that I've done for many years. To me, it's the best thing. You can get extremely aggressive with those procedures, and then you call them that night and they say they're doing pretty good, and then 36 hours later they hardly know they had anything done. Now, you tell me, do you feel the same way after knife and suture surgery? So to me, it's just it's a natural, something I've used effectively for a long time.
Ryan, who's the Periodontal Suite podcast in Vegas that lives there? Alan Honigman. Yeah, I have to give kudos to Alan Honigman, because he got into that LANAP like 15 years ago, and everybody in my backyard, all the periodontists, oh, that's voodoo, there's nothing, and they hung that guy out to dry, and he just laughed, and he said, I don't care, I see lasers working on gum disease in my patients, in my hands. I see it. And then when people tell me, well, there's no evidence for that, I'm like, the New York Times just showed there's no evidence for floss either. But I'm not going to quit flossing my teeth. But the New York Times did great journalism in showing that there is really no research. Because how would you do the research? What would you take? Identical twins? One flosses, one doesn't? Who would monitor that? What are they going to live in a dental office from birth to, but anyway, long story short, and then after about 10 years, another periodontist got a little nap, and now it's very, very common out here. And
Yes.
and so I was going to ask you, did you do LANAP? Because some people say that any laser would work in that tissue. Some obviously the people that in LANAP say no, you got to use the LANAP laser. Do you think a laser is a laser is a laser, or do you think the LANAP procedure is very different?
Well, there again, speaking for myself and my technique in the beginning in '01, I didn't really know what I was doing. The reality was I was turning laser because the salesperson touted this, and because I was seeing such good results from that, I just knew that I was probably killing bacteria at the bottom of the pocket. And little did I know that much later I would realize that it's all about, in today's world, it's all about established biofilms at the bottom of those pockets that are really causing periodontal disease. And now we know there's even viruses in them, and yeasts and molds and all that, and multi different kinds of bacteria. Lisa Marie Samaha teaches you that there's 3 significant ones, but in any case, I didn't really know what I was doing. And so I did get laser certified. The company sent a gentleman down from up north. I can't remember his name, but he's pretty well known in Northern Cal and in laser, and done laser work for a long time. And then as I begin to sort of modify my techniques, where I take the laser and I go and make a switchback pattern coming up there to curette and clean. So if you're asking me in 2 sentences what I think, personally, I think a diode laser does something, and it has advantages and limitations. ND-YAG has advantages and limitations. Erbium YAG has advantages and limitations. Used to their advantages and minimizing their disadvantages. I say that because diode lasers are now handed out like candy, are being bought by, and used in hygiene in the corporate world. Diodes generate a lot of heat in the pocket. But you know what? In the early days, I was really frying things down on the bottom of the pocket, and all I got was great resolution. So, I think there's a significant amount of latitude there. Personally, I do not have an LNAP laser. I've used 2 Photona units, and I just love them. ND-YAG, as I say, carbon dioxide lasers are really nice for down inside the pocket there without anesthesia, believe it or not. But to me, the Cadillac of soft tissue lasers is ND-YAG, and used correctly, that sterilizes the pocket. It cleans out all the necrotic tissue, busts up all the granulation tissue. To me, from my experience, my ND-YAG is used my way, which really wasn't based on anyone else's thoughts. It's just been terribly effective.
So on Fotana, did you get the Light Walker? Is that what you got?
Yes.
Am I still saying that right? Fotano or Fotana?
I call it Photona.
Oh, like a photo, like a light photon?
Light photon.
Okay.
I like that. BioLase is out here not too far from me, and BioLase, I'm not going to say anything disparaging about BioLase.
Oh, you can. It's Dentistry Uncensored. You can
Oh,
say
okay.
anything you want.
Dentistry's BioLace has been up and down and all around, and reformed several times. And I just never really bought that idea that they were the best thing since sliced bread. And it seemed to me that they were spending 2/3 of their money on advertising and 1/3 on R&D. So the Photoni units are actually made in Slovenia over in what used to be Eastern Europe, and to me they're bulletproof and they're simple and they work really great. And the new Lightwalker unit is about half the weight and size of the other one that I had. And the neat part about it is that the laser energy comes up through a mirrored system that comes out, so you lose very little of the erbium YAG laser energy at the end. BioLace tries to put all their energy through a fiber, and there's a significant amount of energy loss going through the fiber.
What did you say? What was the thing you said about a bullet? You said that it could. You use the word bullet.
Oh, bulletproof.
Yeah, bulletproof. It's funny because those Eastern European lasers all came from defense. I mean, those companies, Russia built up a huge laser industry because they wanted for military, shooting down satellites, war. So yeah, all that is actually military technology.
It's simple, effective. There's a beautiful LCD screen on it.
I'll tell you, I got to make a business deal about BioLace. One of the problems with those types of companies is when you sell a big item, like say a laser for say 50, 100,000, doesn't matter. You have no recurring revenue, so then you got to go sell another 100,000 lasers. That type of business model. In fact, one of my favorite business leaders of all time was Procter and Gamble. Procter and Gamble realized that people would spend a month and make 10 tons of soap. Then they'd load it up on a wagon and they'd go sell everybody a gunny sack of soap. The problem is when you sold someone a gunny sack of low-cost, high-quality soap, they're not going to buy anything from you for a year or two. And then after you sold that batch, you sold everybody in the city a 2-year supply of soap, so then they go bankrupt. And it was Procter & Gamble in the late 1800s that said, the problem is there's no business here. We're going to miniaturize everything, and we're only going to sell them a bar of soap, a jar of shampoo. We're only going to sell units where they have to come back every month because we pay our bills monthly. We have our monthly rent, mortgage, equipment, build out computer, and the problem, I saw it also in computer softwares. Way back in the day, there were almost 400 different practice management software systems. And the one that was doing it the most amazing said, I'm not going to sell you this for $5, $10, $20,000. I'm going to sign you up to a $300 a month deal. So I'll give you the floppy disk of software, but then I'm going to count on every month dinging your credit card for $300. And he was right up here in Arizona, here in Phoenix. And as soon as he had 1,000 dentists that he was dinging their credit card for $300 on the first month, he had a business. He could plan, he could grow, he could borrow money, he could do that. That was the Procter Gamble. So I just feel sorry for companies that sell a big ticket item with no recurrent revenue. And it's also, you see it in these auto dealerships. The auto dealerships, they're not even making money on selling the cars anymore because of the internet and all that stuff like that. It's all about the service. If you're not coming back there getting the warranties and the oil change and all that, every one of them would go out of business. They're only making their money. They're trying to give away the car for 1% profit so that you come in and, like a lot of people say, oh, well, you're so lucky your Lexus already got 150,000 miles on it. Yeah, but every time the engine light comes on, I take it down there and give them several $1,000s. I'd like to, add that up over the last 15 years. I probably had a free new car on the side. So that is I want to ask you something else. Growing up in Kansas, I can say for 54 years that everything starts in California and New York, and then 10 years later it gets into Kansas. So I know all my Kansas homies and Nebraska and Oklahoma are saying, this oral health thing, it might be in our state in about another decade. But another big thing out there that you see, and you're into this, is the anti-aging clinics. They're all over Southern California, where people go in and put on testosterone cream daily or a testosterone shot once a week, and they're taking daily human growth hormone shots with insulin eaters in their belly fat. And a lot of dentists on Dental Town are saying, well, this is what the Olympians do. This is what Barry Bonds does. This is what the greatest athletes do. And so why don't, normal people who aren't trying to hit a baseball out of the bleachers, but just want to be healthier. Have you seen those anti-aging clinics out there by you?
Um, Actually, no. As a matter of fact, maybe I've got my head in the sand, but no, actually, and it's the first time I'm actually hearing about it. We have lots of salons, lots of laser work, and for dermatological reasons, and facial work and injectables and that sort of thing. But no, I didn't. I haven't seen.
And guess which? I don't want to say their name. I don't know if it'd be a HIPAA violation or whatever. But the dentists that are all doing it on Dental Town, they're all in Southern Cal.
Really?
Yeah, they're all out by you. And then some of my friends said, that in Wichita and Omaha, they said I haven't seen anything like it. But now one just came to Scottsdale, and that lady used to be in Southern Cal. So I just wondered how that went. So are you selling a lot of vitamins and minerals and supplements and things like that? Is that part of your business model?
Well, the only supplement that I recommend is something called Juice Plus. And the reason for that is it's been studied so effectively, and it's only fruits and vegetables. It has it's only fruits and vegetables. If you look at the back of it, it's got a food label. It does not have a supplement label. Virtually every other thing that you see as a supplementation, isolated vitamins and whatnot, which frankly I do not believe in, processed isolated vitamins. But I believe that we all should be eating pretty much a plant-based diet. That's where the phytonutrients and the antioxidants are. That's going to help, break down the cellular oxidative stress. That's really on a cellular level, really breaking us down, causing us to age and causing disease. Helping cope with inflammation and all of that. So, Juice Plus itself is just produce concentrates dehydrated in fruits and vegetables in capsules or a gummy. So, and I also like there's a smoothie mix and there's a bar, and then there's something called a Tower Garden, which is a hydroponic garden system that I grow my own produce, kale and celery and lettuces and tomatoes and whatnot. So I get organic, clean produce at my house. So the whole goal being to be eating whole food, real food. I want to stay away from processed foods. I want to stay away from sugar, gluten, and dairy. I want to stay away from artificial sweeteners and dyes and colors. I want to eat whole foods, and that's what Juice Plus allows me to do, is eat whole food, just food. So that's the only supplement that I recommend here in the office. And I work very closely with a gentleman, Bill Sears, Dr. William Sears Sr., is a well-known pediatrician in the United States, and I work very closely with him in the nutrition business and in our wellness business, and the techniques for helping people get well we use come out of his teachings.
Well, I just joined Juice Plus on Twitter and gave him a retweet. So this Juice Plus, I mean, I'm not following it. Are you saying that's what you use when you add Grey Goose or Jameson? This is your drink mixer. Did I hear that right? Why am I thinking Jack LaLanne? Was this Jack LaLanne's original company?
Well, no.
He had a company that had.
NSA has been around for 40 years. Juice Plus itself has been distributed for 23 years as the product that it is right now. But Jack LaLanne was really on the right track. Back in the 50s, he realized that nutrition and exercise and lifestyle was really fundamental to his health. And he believed, as he talked about it, is that he'd actually reverse the aging process. Well, maybe we didn't have the scientific proof then, but really through nutrition, through plants, through stress management, through exercise, really what he was doing was to quell the cellular oxidative stress that all causes us to get old and get disease. Well, you fast forward 70 years later, and we know now more than ever. I mean, Newsweek, Time, there are so many articles out now that talk about the benefits of phytonutrients. In other words, a plant-based diet. Staying away from the hormone-laden meat, staying away from the fatty red meat, staying away from the sugar, the gluten, which is genetically modified and is a irritant, dairy products, which are laden with different hormones and whatnot. Sugar, gluten, and dairy are, in my opinion, very inflammatory for the rest of the body. And so we're having a ton of people on allergy medicine. We're having a ton of people with leaky gut and reduced immune function. All of that, in my opinion, based on poor nutrition. So I call it, today we are toxic rich and nutrition poor is where we're at. There's so much going on in our water and our air, and people are hyper stressed out and running around like crazy people and all that, and then eating on the go, and eating on the go. To me, nutrition is 80 to 90% of your life, and so I've just made it a lifestyle.
And I want to lecture these young millennials because sometimes they say things. I always hear them throwing the greatest generation under a bridge for something they did wrong. And I just want to remember that, in the 40s and the 50s, a lot of millennials now are saying some of these companies like GE, they're so bad because they dump so much toxic stuff in the rivers. When Japan bombs Pearl Harbor and Nazi Germany rolls over Poland, no one's giving a crap about a tadpole in a lake. And when GE was making all those war stuff, they asked the Pentagon and the president, where do we dump this shit? And everybody said, well, in the river, and then I'll carry it out to the sea. So to come back 50 years later when you weren't there and say, oh, you did something bad. And the other thing is, and when I was little in the 60s, then the only thing everybody would talk about is food costs 30% of disposable income. And poor people were having a hard time eating. So then these archidinials, midlands, and fertilizers and genetic modified foods and mass produced got the food costs from 30% to 10%. So the good news is that now food is freaking abundant and cheap, and the poorest person in America can go buy a lot of food for hardly any money. And now the millennials saying, oh, but wait, it's all genetically modified and it's not nutrition. It's like, yeah, so my definition of success is that at the end of the year, you just have new problems. You're always going to have problems, but success is when you have new problems because that means you solve the old problems. So food we won World War II. Sorry about the lakes, rivers, and streams. We took food costs from 30% to 10%. That's great. And now the millennials are figuring out, yeah, it's cheap, but there's not a lot of nutrients in a box of Kraft Dinner or a packet of ramen noodles, which is what we lived off in college. I graduated, when I went through college, I was making $3 an hour. I never got a dime help from my father because my dad paid for my sister to go to college because, she was a girl. But he told me that if he paid for me to go to college, I'd go up there and do drugs and chase women, that I had to own it. So I went up there so success is when you got rid of the old problems. Success is when you have new problems. And I think all the things that these millennials are concerned about are really luxury items like clean air, the environment, global warming, nutritious food. Those aren't the problems that they're having today in the Congo. In the Congo, they're just trying to survive. Yeah. But in these rich countries, so I'd just like to remind the millennials that you weren't there in 1940, you weren't there in 1960. So it's kind of arrogant to say that you're in 2016, but you know better than all the other monkeys that were living here 50 years ago. No, you would have been just one of them monkeys too. But I love the fact that all these new problems, and they're really luxury problems. You know what I mean? They're only problems that people have in 20 rich countries. They're not problems they have today in the Congo or Somalia or Afghanistan.
Tony Robbins and others, so many people have said it, that problems and challenges really are a way to find solutions and they create opportunity to find solutions and help you to move forward. So, I've been kind of surprised too by significant, I have almost 21-year-old twin boys, and maybe I've raised them a little bit differently, but many of their contemporaries run up against a problem and think it's, the world has collapsed and really don't realize that a problem or a challenge is really something to overcome, move forward on in life. So I would tend to agree with you all with what you said.
Well, that was the fastest hour I've ever done on this show. I want to tell you, it's an honor to have you on there. It's so fun to be able to do these podcasts and transfer what you know after 30 years to the biggest fans of the show, which are the under 30. I mean, old guys like us, we read books, we go to conventions. The millennials, if it ain't on YouTube or their iTunes, so they're listening to this while they're on the treadmill, they're commuting to work, and it's just so fun for me to sit down and think, two guys have been doing this for 30 years. We got 60 years of been there, done that, transferring into a bunch of kids who just walked out of school all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and wondering what's going on. And they really need to think about volume versus value. And volume ain't all that, beware what you wish for.
Yeah, I see it around me when patients come or I've checked other work. It just seems as though whether it be in healthcare, in medicine, or dentistry, to me, my final thoughts are, to me, dentistry is still a people business, not a procedure business. And I've made a successful career out of treating people as people and looking out for their welfare. And I just see it all around me in medicine and dentistry that it's more and more becoming a procedure business. And to me, that's a prescription for an unfulfilled practice career.
Oh yeah, because they convince you in undergrad that the secrets to the universe are getting an A in calculus and physics and geometry and trig, and you'll go through life, and the people that go the furthest learned it all in the sandbox in kindergarten. And whether you're dealing with your child, your wife, your neighbor, your employees, your patients, if you don't nail people first and foremost, you ain't going anywhere.
And that podcast that I just looked at, it was fairly recently, where again I referenced that young man that's now practicing in Florida. He said something two profound things that came out of that for me were something he said and something you said. Remember, he said that it's the hand you shake that are important, not the grades you make. I thought that was really interesting. And then you sat back and you reflected to broaden the thought, and you said you are the summary of the 5 people that you hang out with. So yes, associate with the right people, be positive, be passionate, put your heart and soul into it, treat the patient as a person, and that's a prescription for a winning career.
Well said. And on that note, thank you for all that you've done for dentistry. Congratulations on your new business model, and I hope you have as much fun going forward.
Yes, sir. When I'm in Arizona, I'm going to come look you up.
Please do. Absolutely. We'll take you bring that Juice Plus, I'll get a bottle of Grey Goose, and we'll just have a healthy evening.
Yes, sir.
All right. Take care.
Yes, sir. Thank you.